I was born in a little town called Jenkinsville in South Carolina, just northwest of Columbia. I was in the Navy. I joined on a T-12 program, which consists of 2 months after the war was over. And usually when you joined the Navy, you had to join for 4, 6, 8 years. But in this particular time, I didn't want to be no foot soldier, so I got my daddy to consent to join the Navy. And I spent 2 years, 2 months, 26 days, and 10 hours in Uncle Sam's Navy.
During World War II?
In World War II. And I worked out with the Charleston Rebels in the baseball season of the spring of 1947. And by doing so, their coach said that he would love me to be on the team, but he could not have but 25 players. And he already had that. And he advised me to go to Georgetown, Lake City, or Hemingway, somewhere up in there, that he heard that they was going to have a paramedic league and semi-pro baseball. So I said, well, that was on a Sunday, April the 1st, or the first Sunday in April of 1947. I got on a Greyhound bus and I got up to Georgetown, and the following Monday morning, walking down Front Street, and they had meters to people to park on Front Street. And John Hardy run a liquor store right beside the Fogel's building there. And he was leaning up on one of them meters, and I spoke to him and says, I come up here to play some baseball. He said, well, we're going to have a team. And in about 2 weeks, he says, you can stick around and maybe you can make the team. I said, I'm going to make the team. But I said, in the meantime, I says, where can I get a job, daytime job? And he said, well, Shelley Johnson run a service station down there on the other side of the town clock, and I'll recommend you. And so I said, okay, and I went on down through under the town clock, got on there and talked to Shelley Johnson, and he said, yeah, he could use some daytime help. And so I went to work with him and went and worked out with the baseball team and made the team. And from then on, it was play during the week was night games. So it was right good for me to be working at the service station in the daytime and playing ball at night. Mr. Richie Seal, that's Dr. Seal's daddy, was in charge of Kaminsky Hardware Company. And he lived on the other side of where that station was. And he come down, he knew me as Mac this and Mac that. And he said, so he would love to have somebody to work in a wholesale hardware store. And I said, you looking at it? He said, well, you have a job here. And I said, yeah, but he knows I'm looking for something to in the hardware business. And I said, that was on a Saturday afternoon. And they worked Wednesday afternoon to 1 o'clock and Saturday afternoon to 1 o'clock. And the rest of the time was from 8 to 5 during the week. Anyway, I said, I'll be working with you Monday. I said I went in and I told Shirley Johnson, I said, I'm going to start working Wednesday with the hardware company. And
Mr. Ritchie got out his pad and did some figuring. You want to tell that?
yeah, he says we work 42 hours a week and you get paid for 43. And he says Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays we work till 1 o'clock on those 2 days, but that made 42 hours, and you get paid for 43. And I'll start you off at $37.50 a week. And I had been making 62 hours and $32.50 a week. And I'd eat in Thomas's Cafe. And in those days, Thomas Cafe, you could get 2 strips of bacon, 2 scrambled eggs, some grits, 2 slices of bread, a cup of coffee, and Mr. Thomas, Pete Thomas's daddy, would let you have another cup of coffee if you wanted. And it was 35 cents a meal. Any rained out game we had during the week, we made it up on a Saturday night. King Street, Lake City, Hemingway, Hartsville, and I have 5 or 6 teams, but I can't remember them all right now.
And some of the players that played on your team?
Yeah, we had some named Bo Bishop, Huggins, Duffy, Frank Tall, Matt Goyak, and he and I is about the only ones left of that group in this area. And Kay Richards, and a few more. $0.35, 25 cents for the children, and 35 cents for the grown-ups, and they could see a ball game.
And how were the stands packed?
It was at times, especially if the one that had been a rained out game, and on a Saturday night, it was they wouldn't even go to Paul's Island, to the beach. They would take in the ball game.
About how many people would you say might have been?
Anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000
people.
People, yeah, and
In the stands.
in
In the stands.
the stands, and that same ballpark is now called Mike Johnson Park. Some of them did, and some of them didn't. There was a few of them that went to Hemingway or maybe King Street and whatnot to see a ball game. And Bobo Newsom was one for Hartsville, and then he was going up there, and well, he was with the Philadelphia Athletics, and he was waiting to talk to Clark Griffin, who owned the Washington Senators, and he came home for a little while, but he was pitching for the Independent League. Anyway, he was a sidearm type pitcher, and he was fixing to throw a ball at me when I was at the plate, and it was just touched the corner of the plate, and so the umpire, Stokes, who's from Bishopville, he went and I told him, I said, you go out there and talk to him, because I don't want to get hit by no major league ball player. And I says, I'm going to take this bat in my hand if that's the case, and we'll have a free fall right there between home plate and the pitcher's mound. And Stokes went about halfway out to the mound and says, watch them sidearm curveballs you're throwing. So he came back behind the plate and he said, "Batter up." And he came in there, and it was about 3, maybe 4 inches on the inside corner of the plate. And I went and put my left foot in the bucket, more or less, so to speak, as the baseball language was. And I hit the ball just about 4 inches from the end of the bat. And it went over the shortstop's head, the left fielder's head, for a home run. But this was in Hartsville, not in Georgetown. And it was the funny thing about this whole thing was that shortstop and second baseman went patted me on the shoulders. I was circling second base and going around the third, and each one of them said, "Nice lick, oh boy, you hit a major leaguer that time." And I was proud of that. I've told that story quite a few times. I played baseball for the town team from 1947 through 1952. It all depends on how many, 35, 40. During the summer months, I don't know. We play 5 games a week, and I had Saturday night for any rain out game. And Miss Betty, and Brady Burns, and she was a telephone operator. In those days, they had operators that, and I'd give her a call, and she would answer the phone and number please, and thinking I was going to call somebody else, and I was wanting to call her, and invited to a movie, and she finally accepted a couple of times, and that's when I started courting her.
And you got married?
And got married.
In when?
And we got married in 49, and she kept on with the telephone company through the 50s, and in 59 we had a little bouncing baby girl.
Now,
there's one little story that I'd like to tell, and told quite a few times, and it was Dr. Lumpkin was the doctor that delivered you, and after 20 hours, he came out of the room and he says, "If she doesn't have that baby within the hour, I'm going in there and get it." And so I says, "Hey, that's up to you, Doc." And within the hour, you were born. Kathy.
his last name was Kathy.
Kathy, and he was pitching for Lake City at the time, and I hit a couple of doubles off of him, 2 base knocks.
Who were some of your best hitters for the Georgetown Athletics?
Well, I guess I was among the top hitter. Of course, we had some, Bo Bishop, and some of the others was pretty good knockers.
Who was your pitcher?
Danny
Danahay?
was one of them, and Goyak. And like I say, Goyak is still around. I don't know. I think he's up in Mose Inlet or somewhere. Oh yeah, well, there was quite a few of them from Georgetown that played. Yeah. Like I say, most of them is all gone though.
And the baseball league itself, how long did it continue?
Through the summer months.
No.
summer
How long
months.
did it continue after you stopped playing? Like, about when did it fall?
Oh,
When
it
did
started. It stopped in 52, 53. I played some of the last game that was on the team. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I went right on up through and played baseball. But the only reason I got out of high school was on account of the three sports. I played basketball, football. We had a six-man football team. We didn't have 11 players on the school that I went to because there wasn't about 11 in the class, and it was three or four out of the other ones, and we had just 11 grades and not 12. And like I say, it was kind of neat. You play basketball, and then football, basketball, then baseball, right on around. And and we went to school from September to sometime in June. And I finally graduated from the 11th grade. I enjoyed every bit of the Navy too. That I shot a 20 millimeter. That every third round was a tracer. It would light up the sky. We got credit for shooting down 4 Jap planes off Okinawa. What was so funny about that now was we had a fella from San Diego, California, that was a radioman. And we picked up our ship when it was built in Boston, Massachusetts. Anyway, we come down through the locks of Norfolk, Denmark, and then we get down to, and we was out further out where we didn't see no land when we passed Cape Hatteras and Charleston. We were just further out in the ocean. Anyway, we get down to Key West, Florida, and he was with us, and we went through the locks and into Caribbean Sea there, and it was pretty choppy, and he got seasick. And we get to Panama, and the skipper went come down and talk to him, and he says, "You want to, you not seaworthy to ride on this ship. You want to go on to San Diego with us, and I'll let you off there because you are from San Diego. Or did you want to get off here in Panama?" He said, "I'd rather get off in Panama." And we get out in the Pacific, and the waves we made was the waves that we carried all the way up to San Diego. But now we saw 2 typhoons in the Pacific, but this was not one of them. It was just as calm as it could be all the way up to San Diego. But that was right funny, him being from San Diego. But when we get out through Pearl Harbor, on out through and into Tokyo Bay and off of Okinawa, right, and we saw 2 typhoons while we was out there. And another little object was we had the Rear Admiral was waiting to ride something smaller to go back to Hawaii to pick up a bigger ship. And we got orders coming out of Tokyo that we'd be advised to turn in and pull into a cove or come back into the Tokyo Bay, that it was getting rough. And so our skipper heeded to the command of that instead of from this rear admiral that was riding with us. Says, and he was fussing at him and fussing at him, and we got into a swell, and it listed about 60 degrees. Another 5 degrees, they said we could have capsized. Anyway, he said, "You did the right thing, Skipper. You did the right thing." And but he rode us on over to Pearl Harbor, and we let him off that. I don't know whatever happened to him, but we didn't ever see him again because we came on up to Los Angeles and San Diego and went up to Columbia River, and I got off of it in Portland, Oregon, up to Columbia River, and got onto a train and rode through Chicago, Cincinnati, into Charleston. The outfield, mostly, but they wouldn't take me because they had 25 players. The bridge that they had tore down and made a scramble out of it and took it out to sea, the Cripple Bridge at that time, they were getting ready to paint it. And I went around there to apply for a job as a painter. And he said, "No, we can't use you, you're too young." And I said, "Too young?" I said, "I just got out of the service." And I said, "I have sat in the boatswain chair and helped paint the ship I was on." And he said, "No, you're still too young." I had a brother that was working with a company on East Bay Street. And my first job in Charleston was making wooden step ladders out of wood. Took them around to Cameron Barkley to help deliver them, and applied for a job around that. And they told me then that they could keep me as shipping and receiving, and that's what I got into in the hardware business. We was up at Gaffney, which was a little farther up in the hills of South Carolina, and we had a 6-man football team when I was in high school, and at halftime they had us 19-7, and our coach goes over to their coach and say, "Hey, it's sleeting and snowing, and it's freezing," and says, "Well, so be it." Says, "We can't stop in the middle of halftime here." And so he come back over there and tells us, he says, "Okay, fellas, we got to play the other half around half," and we get out there and we had a kickoff. They kicked off to us, and we went in for a touchdown to start with, and we finally beat them 19. The score was 19-7, but whenever the game was over, it was 26 our score, and that against 19 for them. Well, now that little story goes back against Britain's Neck, which was over here next to Conway, on the other side of Conway. And it was a Class C schools then, A, B, C, now the AA, AAA, and whatever. Anyway, our coach and their coach got together, and we could pay them $50 for traveling expenses and divide the gate receipts, or they and play in Winsboro. Or we could, they give us $50 for traveling expenses and play in Florence. Well, we voted for give them $50 and play in Mount Zion Institute in Winsboro. And we beat them 31 to 51. And we divided the gate receipts, and it was something like 3,000 people in the audience. Some of them standing room only. Had a hole-in-one in golf right out here in Georgetown. The old cow pasture, we used to call it, is right there where Ryan's eating, steakhouse eating, but it was on the 15th hole. I got a little trophy at home to show for it.
That was the Georgetown Country Club?
Yeah. Used to be called Georgetown Country Club. Still, I'm not gung-ho on them anymore. That's when they had Bill Dickey and Joe DiMaggio and Red Roth, Lou Gehrig. Had some good ball players. The one in Georgetown is just about the same as it is now. But I hit one over it two or three times.
Did you have sponsors?
Huh?
Businesses? Did you have businesses?
Oh, there was quite a few would pay, and if you hit a home run, you got 50 cents. Oh, Larimore Cider would always give 50 cents or $1. Next one, Georgetown player hit a home run. Well, they were and they weren't, but the thing was, you couldn't pick up too much on the radio because it just wasn't to be had. In other words, your telephones, you had to call the operator to get another town, another party, and it was tied up with operators. Well, it's just semi-pro.
Right.
In other words, none of the major league clubs owned it. No. They, like the Charleston Rebels, was kind of owned by the Boston Red Sox. But in the Palmetto League, which was, I can't name them all right now, but there was 6 or 8 teams in that episode. Somerville, Iffy-Washy type, and Lake City, King Street.